Coach talked so much about fortitude, coming back from down 16, 25, whatever. To have fortitude in this kind of game, is it almost the same thing? Is it just toughness to compete?
Yeah, it is. We got off to a bad start. But to need big stops down the stretch, to have to execute in end of regulation, end of first overtime, early second overtime, just to keep fighting, and understand the importance of the execution and big time rebounds, and not just execution on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, and staying with it. Although they're making some tough shots, and James made the one from the top, and then Embiid made one, and we doubled Embiid, and Melton made one in front of our bench. So to kind of withstand all of that shows a lot of character in that locker room.
Coach, prior to the game, I asked you about Kevin as the extension of you on the floor, and tonight, from an emotional standpoint, what did you see from him taking on that defensive challenge and just being a leader overall?
Yeah, he did great. He, again, he's been so even this year with his emotions, and the team feeds off that for sure. And he ran the game. There were times where, like I said, I just let him do his thing, and he got everybody in the right spots. He got to his pick and roll game, or gave it to Jalen and let Jalen attack with his pick and roll game. Looked like he tweaked something towards the end, but stayed in the game. Got hit in the face, stayed in the game. Really got after it defensively. How many rebounds he ended up with? 6. So yeah, he had a complete game, and we needed all of that. But it's the steadiness that he gives our group that's super important.
How important was Tari?
Guys to get those 2 3-pointers early in the second overtime to kind of get a little bit of space from them?
It was very big. I mean, we were fighting and moving the ball really well, and to have some of those shots go, especially early in an overtime, give yourself some cushion, give yourself some confidence.
Just how impactful was Tari Eason in his minutes tonight off the bench? Even you let him get a couple minutes there in crunch time, near the end of regulation.
Huge. Huge. I mean, he just has a knack of getting the basketball. I mean, whether it's on the floor or they tried to make an entry pass to the elbow and he stole that, and comes up with big rebounds, made a few threes tonight. Yeah, a couple. He's always around the basketball, and with that comes more trust and more minutes, I assume.
What about your other rookie, Jabari Smith Jr., the way that he came through tonight? It seems like he was just willing to take on the challenges, and especially from a young guy going up against veterans like that.
He's he's so good he's so much fun to coach, because he's selfless and he kind of does what's needed. Tonight we needed him to defend and rebound and make an open shot, and he did that. And when he doesn't get shots, he doesn't force it or pout or anything. He just keeps playing, and then he'll take the opportunities that are given him. So that's what you want. You want a guy that's just out there selfless and doing whatever's necessary, especially a rookie.
In timeouts during overtime, does your strategy change at all from timeouts during a regulation game that's maybe not as tight? Or are you trying to draw up plays and think of different scenarios every time, or are you just kind of look, just see what happens?
Usually the timeouts are shorter, so I can't really get into too much, and so it's a minute 15 timeout, and half of it is defense and half of it's we tried to stay in our pick and roll game, so I just told them to stay space, get to the pick and roll, use the clock, and it was more about the defense in that situation in overtime.
You said before the game that the whole season's about growth. To have these recent games, Atlanta, Phoenix, this one, maybe even down the stretch with Golden State, how valuable a lesson comes from games like these rather than the others?
Rather than which one?
I don't want to say Oklahoma City or Orlando, but those weren't as close, but
Yeah.
these tough ones.
It's huge for our confidence, and anytime that you spend as much time as we do teaching and developing, you want to see the fruits of that. And with that comes not only confidence for the players, but confidence in kind of how we do things in our culture. So yeah, that's the big part, is when you kind of fight through these games and beat some good teams, and you're like, oh, we're moving in the right direction.
And Coach, what does these last couple of wins that you guys have been able to get, what does it mean to you? Because I remember early on in the year you kept saying this team is developing, but unfortunately it wasn't shown in the win column.
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. It means a lot. I want what's best for them, right? So for them to continue to fight and lose games, that's not great. that doesn't feel good when they go home, and it doesn't feel good when we're at practice. So we definitely don't take, I guess, because of what we went through the first 10 games of the season, we definitely don't take stuff like this for granted. We feel good about it, but it does kind of set a foundation for us moving forward.
I know this game was so long, it's probably hard to remember, but in the first quarter when you guys started out slow yet again, do you remember what you told them to kind of get them back on track, or keep on? No, I don't. That was a long time ago. It feels like it was yesterday. But we've been there before. We knew we were gonna get back into the game, and I think we made a couple threes, or a 3 and then a 2, and got back. So we don't waver when it comes to getting down early, which is a double-edged sword.
So during this stretch where you have been able to pick up some of these big wins, what have you learned that you feel like has worked late in these games here?
Yeah, kind of just simplifying things for the group, as far as our defense and our offense. Just kind of staying in pick and roll, and we had Eric handling, we had Jalen handling, we had Scoot handling, and I thought Albie did a really good job of screening towards the end of the game. He also did a good job defensively, even though he fouled out. It was a hard game for him. But yeah, down the stretch, just try to keep it simple for our guys. I don't want to muddle the game up for them.
To your point about them being rewarded, hard work being rewarded by wins. Are you sensing more confidence in them late in terms of how they handle things down the stretch of games?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, a month ago we probably wouldn't have won this game, and we stayed in it and got confidence as the game went along, and stayed with it, and we continue to do that. Continue to harp on the same things as far as playing hard and playing together, and yeah, and again, if James's shot at the end goes in, that doesn't take away from the game that we played. I mean, we are starting to get the results, but it's how we're doing it. So you can't not want to put a whole lot into the game if you lose, and then put a whole lot into it if you win. You want to just really think about how you're doing things and what you're doing, and make sure you're doing it right, and the results will come.
You
Coach,
brought up
could you-
Albie's defense. He played probably close to 12 minutes with 5 fouls, and that's against NBA in
Yeah.
Harden. How was he able to avoid getting that 6th foul for so long, and what does that tell you just about him moving forward with that he can do?
Yeah, I mean, he was really conscious of it, but the thing about Albie tonight was, even though, and for young guys, this is really hard. When you have 5 fouls, usually you get less aggressive, right? And you're trying to move out of the way, or not trying to get that 6th foul. And he was very aggressive. He was bumping and holding, and as penetration came, he was getting to his verticality and just playing. And that says a lot about him, and where he can be defensively. But he put a lot into this game on the defensive end, and that was one of the main reasons we won.
Coach, could you sense the go ahead, Vanessa.
How did you feel about the physicality in general? Because this is a team you have to really be physical against. So you had Bruno and other people contributing on that end.
Yeah, it was huge. We have a lot of guys who can play, and who are we can go a bunch of different ways, whether it's bigger or smaller and quicker, or more physical, like with Bruno and Alpi and KJ and Tari, Oos at some level. So, yeah, that's a tough, grinded out Eastern Conference type team that we played tonight, and it wasn't up and down thing that we try to play. There were a lot less possessions, and it was to think that it was a double overtime game and we shot 94 shots and they shot 87. That shows you where the pace was at. So it really was a physical, grinded out game, and I was proud of our guys for fighting through.
Could you sense
Last
the energy?
question.
Could you sense the energy from the crowd, Coach?
Absolutely. I mean, they were in it, and our guys love it. I mean, I love it for sure, but our guys definitely feed off of it, and we need a few more of these so they can enjoy it.